Hi, welcome to the Coffee Chat Show here on Buzzin Pattaya, the show where we talk about things that are happening right here, right now, as well as general news, tips, information and advice. Now, have I got a guest for you guys today? Greg, how you doing, my man?
Very good,
How you doing, buddy?
Good, mate.
Good to see you. I haven't seen you for ages.
Oh,
It feels like, like a couple of days.
Well, this lockdown, mate. Yeah, you know what it's like.
It's all right, we're having a private joke. We actually recorded this the other day and it all went pear-shaped, so we're going to do it again today.
Second take.
Yeah.
See how we go this time.
Well, we're going to get there, aren't we? I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Like I said to you before, 11 years ago, I'm walking down Walking Street, wandering around, and then I suddenly head up Soy Diamond, go up these steps, and all of a sudden I'm in like heaven, and that was all down to you, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, mate. That was 2004.
2004. You make me feel old now.
Well, I'm the old one. You're the young fella. Come on.
Do you know what? Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day when you were saying you did 22 years there, and then I'm thinking, how old are you?
Yeah, I've forgotten.
You're looking good, mate. You're looking good.
Not allowed to tell them.
Now, I mean, Greg, before we talk about Heaven Above, which obviously is what we're here for, and you're going to explain about the ins and outs of running of the club, etc., etc. I mean, tell me a bit about yourself. I mean, where are you originally from?
Mate, I'm originally I grew up in Sydney.
Yeah.
I grew up in a city suburb.
Okay.
I was very fortunate to have a pretty caring mother because my father passed away when I was 7.
Right. Oh well.
So she had to bring me up and the family up, and so it was pretty tough in those days. Everybody thinks it's easy, but it's not.
Sure.
Had my first job pushing a wheelbarrow around, Sun and Mirror, selling newspapers when I was about I think 8 years of age. I left school pretty young because the family needed money in those days. Mm-hmm. I'm a toolmaker by trade, toolmaker draftsman by trade.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough actually because I absolutely hated it. I was in a factory and I was a bit of a surfer dude. I used to surf every day and I'd go to the surf of a morning.
Wow.
Prior to work, I'd get down to Cronulla Beach at 5 a.m. and then lob up to work late. My boss was always unimpressed because if it wasn't surfing, I had a broken ribs or broken arm because I used to play a lot of rugby league as well. And then I was fortunate enough, I guess, in some ways to get drafted into the army. So that got me out of the factory work. After my army stint, I then had various jobs, but I ended up in a place called Airlie Beach.
Okay.
Which is in the heart of the Whitsunday Islands. You probably don't know much.
I don't know, no, true.
But it's right on the
Is it near Colan?
fair. Well,
it's only island, I know.
The weather's the same. It's right on the doorstep of the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, wow, okay, wow.
And I started a restaurant.
Well, you're underselling now, aren't you? Because you didn't just start a restaurant. Didn't you go on to create like one of the most famous steak and restaurants in the area?
Yeah, well, I didn't have I worked as a sales rep in Sydney for a long time, so I was used to talking to people and doing that. So as far as restauranting's concerned, I did know the first thing about it, but I thought, I'm going to give this a crack.
Well, fair play.
And we turned it in, my partner and I turned it into probably the most well-known steakhouse at least in North Queensland. It was called KC's Char Grill, and we had live bands on there, everyone from Jimmy Barnes to Jeff St John, and I had comedians on there, Steady Eddie. We used to have all these. It was pretty famous, but it was an entertainment hub as well as a restaurant. We had a cabaret license. We were the very first to obtain a cabaret license in Queensland. So mate, and I had an absolute ball up there, fishing, sailing, diving.
Wow.
It was magnificent.
So from there to Pattaya, I mean, when did you first come over to Pattaya to holiday, or when was your first visit to Thailand?
Well, my first visit to Thailand was in 1987.
Okay.
And I think I may have told you previously, but I had a bit of a story there with my first trip.
Listen to this. This is brilliant.
I ended up in Bangkok with my best mate. Actually, we stayed in Bangkok for a night, and we ended in a place called Papong Road. I'd never heard of this place, and I was like a kid in a candy store. And I'm sort of going, what the hell is going on here? And the next day we had a taxi booked to come down to a place called Pattaya, and I didn't know what Pattaya was, and because in the meantime I was talking to my then girlfriend in Sweden, in Stockholm.
This is brilliant. Come
And
on.
she was
Tell the truth.
Well, so she knew I was coming there in another 3 days. Well, of course, I got down to Pattaya, and unfortunately, I missed the flight back to Stockholm. Luckily, we got another flight, and she was still, God love her, she was still waiting at the airport for me at Stockholm.
Wow.
But yeah, we got down to Pattaya, and I'd never seen anything like it in my life. So
I mean, how did you blag it with her when you got back and said, "Oh, sorry, like I missed the plane for like 3 days"?
I just
Or did you
a bit of gift of the gab, and
no wonder you're in sales.
I got away with it. I don't know how, but yeah, it was an experience down here, mate. And I kept thinking about it all the time, and because I think I may have mentioned to you the very first bar I had a drink in was the Carousel Bar in Soy Diamond.
Oh yeah, how can you ever forget them? Round and round and round. It's like, hello mate, and you're about to how are we doing? And you just go round and round.
Correct.
And I think there must have been like whoever designed that concept, I think was a bit of a sadist. Because when you've had a fair few and you get off, I mean, you're wobbly at the best of times. When you've been spinning around for an hour and you get off, it's like, oh dear, you know, you can stagger off in all kinds of directions.
Well, there was plenty of places to stagger off to. If you fell off, you know, someone would prop you up, because there was none of this responsible service of alcohol like there is in the Western world. You know, you just pick them up and sit them back down and pour another one down the gullet, and away we go again.
Wow.
So,
I mean, back in the day, I mean, what was Pattaya like when you first? I mean, 1987. I mean, that's a long time ago. I mean, how was it?
87. Well, my recollection was, as I said, the first bar was the Carousel Bar, but then that was in Soy Diamond.
Yeah.
And it was just downstairs, obviously, from where my club was going to be. Not that I knew anything about that.
Yeah.
But right in Soy Diamond, there were so many. All the clubs were on either side. You know, you had Super Baby on one side, Super Girl. Then you had a bar called Caligula, Hawaii.
Wow.
On the other side, there was Paris Agogo, old Louis, who used to own Paris. Then there was Carousel Bar next to that, and the Soy Diamond was a real hub. Walking Street was a bit ramshackle. There was still a bit of dirt road.
Was there?
Yeah, wow. It was. But the clubs were nowhere near proliferated like they are today, or like they were until the lockdown, of course. But it was just still exciting, very exciting.
Well, I understand it was more than just exciting, because didn't you say to me that you got on an airplane to go home? And you
that was another trip.
Oh, that was the other trip, was it?
That was another trip. This was the one on the way to.
Oh, right. So the first
Sweden,
one,
when I had that's when I had the steak restaurant, KC's Char Grill. I had that.
Right. Okay.
And then after the first trip, I came back again in 1989.
Yeah.
And I didn't return to Thailand again till the year 2000.
Wow.
It was a long time.
Yeah.
I know.
When you were going back, you like kind of had like a indecisive moment, didn't you? In terms of getting to your actual destination. Instead, you did a U-turn, because you're quite good at these U-turns, aren't you?
I did. Yes, I was on one trip, and much to the dismay of my business partner, I flew back to Australia, and on the trip back, I'm thinking, Greg, what are you doing? You know, what are you going back to? They can run the place, that's all right, you know. And I got to Mascot, Sydney Airport, and I walked straight around. I went through customs. I went and bought another ticket.
So you landed.
I had to go out through customs.
Yep. And back to the departure lounge.
I went and bought another ticket that was leaving in about another 10 or so hours. I got the ticket and I went straight back in and sat there and waited till the flight back again.
And I mean, out of interest, can you recall how many missed calls you had from your business partner asking where you were?
The poor guy was pulling his hair out.
I should imagine he was. Really, dude, where are you? Like, I've been outside here for hours. Did he ring your girlfriend and say, you know, when you waited 3 days? Well, I'm kind of close now. You know, what happened?
He was pretty cool in the end. I think he realised that I was going to be destined to come here, because this was after I'd sold out of I was in the other steakhouse in Early Beach for 14 years.
Right. Okay.
And then I was offered to come in with a guy called Don Algie, who started off a franchise group called Hog's Breath Cafe.
Right.
I mean, Hogsbreath Cafe with the at their peak they had about 86 in Australia.
Wow.
And they had in New Zealand as well. And the very first one was in Airlie Beach, and after I'd finished at KC's, he offered me to come in with him as a business partner and to run a place like that, and we were going to grow, which we did. We built more Hogsbreaths. I needed a partner, so I brought my best mate in, who was still my best mate anyway.
Yeah.
But he was the guy that was pulling his hair out every time I'd take off to Thailand.
Please come back.
He thought,
please come back.
When are you coming back, Greg?
I mean,
anyway,
we talk about Pattaya. I mean, back in the day, I mean, obviously you've experienced and seen some incredible changes over the years. What's probably the most prominent change you've seen when you consider going back in time when you first got here and you were new to the city and thinking, wow, look at this, to where we are today? What's been the biggest change, do you think?
I think that when I first came here, there was very few Asian customers here at all.
Okay.
Very, very few. And they were mostly English, Australian, Western guys.
Yeah.
And of course, once the Asians and the Indians, of course, part of Asia, once they all started finding this place, then prices started to go up. It was always going to happen. It was always going to happen because there was no nightclubs in those days. There was no Insomnia or any of those clubs. They were not.
So what did you do? Like, I mean, because like here,
Can't remember.
I mean, you know, here you kind of like, you go out sort of early evening, or for some of the hardcore guys, they'll go out in the afternoon, but you know, go out early evening, you'll spend your time going around all the different bars, but come to sort of like midnight, we're kind of like conditioned to then go to iBar, 808, Insomnia, you know, all these places. I mean, what did you guys used to do?
Well, I think that it was mostly like when the clubs are shut, so the Go-Go's or those sort of beer bars were open virtually all night. So you could stagger off into the sunset, and there was always, because the town in those days was there was just thousands of beer bars here. I mean, they were on every corner. They were, like if you look up towards Soi 1, where the Siam Hotel is, and Big C, that was just a complex of, I don't know how many bars. There was probably 100 bars in there.
Wow.
Just in that one complex.
Wow.
So...
so you were never sport for choice?
Never sport for choice. And Walking Street, of course, there was a lot of just bars, like the old Roo Bar that Roundy used to have. Yeah. That was a very famous beer bar. But then, of course, slowly but surely, they started to go. The rents went up, and then all the go-go bars started to take over. So...
I mean, nowadays in the city, I mean, there is a huge community of the ladyboys here. I mean, were ladyboys as prominent back in the day as they are now, or is that something that's also evolved over time?
I don't remember. I don't know.
He doesn't want to say, that's what it is.
No.
I mean,
I'll tell you. Okay. The ladyboys, yeah, of course they were around.
Right, okay.
I'm each to their own. I'll leave that to the others. But when I did come back, the second time, I stayed in Soi Pattaya Land.
Oh, okay, right.
I stayed at a place called the Penthouse Hotel,
right,
which I think most guys would know.
Yeah.
It was run in those days by a man called Mr. Dudley.
Mr. Dudley.
He's a proper Englishman, yes.
Oh, is he? What, prim and proper?
Yes.
He didn't speak like How Now Brown Cow.
How Now Brown Cow, he did actually.
Oh, did he?
He did speak like that.
And he was here in Pattaya?
Yes.
Did he take a wrong turn?
he did later, for sure. He ran the Penthouse Hotel, so we booked in there, and Soi Pattaya Land was virtually the hub of clubs and night. You mightn't believe it, but it was. It was, you know, every second bar was, there was a bar, there was a restaurant, there was a go-go, there was another bar, another club. Because if you go up to the end, I think you may have remembered Classroom. Well, Classroom's still there.
Peter, good old Peter.
But it was Classroom a go-go.
That's right.
And there was Rodeo Girls, there was Bubbles a go-go. That was, the whole street was, and of course there was a club within the Penthouse Hotel.
Okay. So was like that area kind of like the equivalent to today's LK Metro, like the
very similar area? In a way. Yeah, very similar.
Okay.
But as I said before, previously, Trevor, on the corner there was a restaurant, which you know, called New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah.
It was on the corner of the street that led down to Boys Town.
Yeah.
And I never ever ventured
And
down there.
The bar
I've
opposite,
got to be honest, I've never been down there, ever.
the bar opposite, Shamrock Bar.
The Shamrock.
Do you know, we were struggling the other day, weren't we, trying to figure out, thinking, which one was it?
I think they used to have the Sunday roast there and all that, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a vibrant site. It was really, really vibrant, but it's fallen into a bit of disrepair these days.
It has taken a bit of a hit, hasn't it?
Sure
Really?
has.
You know, I mean, you know, we speak about this a lot about, you know, the future of Walking Street, the future of LK Metro. I mean, where we are now in Soy Boomerang,
Yep, sure.
you know, this area is penciled in to be a really good new go-to area, which is fantastic for where you guys are.
Yep.
I mean, in terms of the change in the demographics, I mean, Walking Street, I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Because this subject seems to get flogged to death. You know, Walking Street, is it going to be bulldozed down and rediscovered, or is it going to be left alone? Is there too much teapot money involved for things to be changed? I mean, what do you think? I mean, you've been here a long time. What do you reckon?
Mate, to be honest, I'm not privy to the council thoughts or what they're going, but as long as I've been here, they've always been thinking about bulldozing the waterside and make it a park or put in a casino, whatever else they're going to, because most of the clubs there have encroached a little bit onto their crown land, or what you'd like to call it.
Yeah.
I personally don't think that that's going to happen for quite some time. I think there's too much money vested there. I may be wrong.
Yeah.
But I do think that Walking Street will definitely come back. Now, I don't want to go back down there. I know we hear doom and gloom, it's expensive, which it is. I understand that. But it's horses for courses, so you'll have certain areas here now where you're going to get, say, Walking Street. It will predominantly be, in my thoughts, predominantly Asian, an Asian destination.
So that's where you think they're going to target the audience?
Oh, absolutely. It was heading that way when I finished at my other club, Heaven Above, and a lot of the clubs now have been bought out by Asians.
I mean, do you think then, so you're saying like Walking Street, in your opinion, would be more aimed towards the Asian market. So if that's the situation, where do you see like LK Metro and Tree Town and Soy Boomerang, these new places that are the go-to places, do you see that as being like the target area for like the Europeans?
Oh, absolutely, mate. Yes.
You think so?
I found it so different to where I originally had my business, and I had to adapt to up here because I've got to be honest, I didn't come up to the LK Metro area very much at all. I saw the cat.
Yeah.
You know, we'd go out for a night with the mates and you'd go to the clubs and all that. But I've met so many different people and new people since I've moved up to this area, and this area is really, it's so vibrant. It's got everything. You know, there's new nightclubs coming in here, so it will be an area that will be basically, I think, Western influence. You know, the Aussies, the Poms, the Kiwis, all the Scandinavians, etc., Americans, with a smattering of Asian customers coming up, which you will get.
I must admit, it's very true what you say there about, you know, you don't kind of like cross between the two, because I remember when I first started coming here, you know, I stayed in the Windy Inn, which was at the far end of Walking Street. Yep. And I used to just stay in Walking Street. You know, people say to me, you're going to go to LK. I go, oh no, it's a long way. I can't be bothered.
Exactly.
And it's not a long way.
No,
you know, ironically, it's not a long way, you know, but you just kind of, I used to sit in the Pattaya Beer Garden, you know, that was a fantastic place, the beer complex at the front. Then you'd wander in, you know, you'd have Airport Agogo, Skyfall, you know, Misty's, you know, Heaven, all these places. And you used to just like stay in that zone. Whereas now, I'm like you, if someone said to me, go to Walking Street, oh, really? You know, I don't really want to go there, you know. And
it's the same for me.
It's weird how you change, isn't it?
Yeah, well, same for me. I was there for 16 years, and prior to this last lockdown, they'd say, how long since you've been down to Walking Street? And I'm sort of thinking, when I was down there every night.
Yeah.
Now I've got I'm not saying no desire to go there, but everything's up here for me. And I've met so many different people. All my mates live up here. And I'm a lot happier up here than, I've got to tell you, I'm a lot happier up here than I was in the last couple of years in particular, down in Walking Street.
I mean, talking about Pattaya, I mean, obviously, you know, we're going to talk in part 2 a lot more about the running of Heaven and, you know, all the things, the obstacles that you've had to overcome and the success stories, etc. Because it was a very, very successful club, and I'm not just saying it, it really was. You know, those of you guys that have been in Walking Street, you'll know Heaven Above. Everyone remembered Heaven Above. What made you decide, because back in Australia you had a successful business, you know, things were going really well. What made you say, do you know what, enough's enough, and this is where I want to be now? Because you've left behind a very successful business to come here, and effectively, you know, and we'll talk about this a lot more in part 2, but effectively you threw yourself into what is probably the lion's den with an Agogo bar, yet you've left a really successful business. I mean, what made you do that?
I just think that from being a single guy, I've been single all my life, that was...
That's absolutely,
that was
that's a Billy bonus.
It was a driven factor to come over here. As you're getting a bit older, I think that I've always wanted a new challenge anyway, and I still had the restaurants back there, back in Australia. We slowly started to sell them off.
Yeah.
But I needed something new, but when I first came here, I've got to be honest that I had planned to, as I mentioned to you, to firstly semi-retire.
Yeah, you don't do that.
No, it didn't
He's
happen.
far too active.
It lasted about 10 minutes.
You're the only guy I know that actually does work while you're sleeping.
So yeah, mate. I think that was driven in me to come here and just do something. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea. I've got to be honest. I didn't come here and say I'm going to open up a club or I'm going to open up a hotel. That was never in my mind at all.
Well, I suppose you got some similarities, because back in your restaurants, I'm sure you served fish dishes.
Certainly
and
did.
In Heaven, you were serving fish dishes, but just slightly different. same but different.
We won't touch on that one.
We will in part 2, don't worry. I mean, any regrets? I mean, you know, you look back and not talking about Heaven, but I mean about the actual concept of leaving behind what was a very successful business and a really good lifestyle. Coming here, any regrets?
None whatsoever, Charlie.
No?
None whatsoever. I'd have thought that my business partner, my best mate, Bill, he's married, he's got his family back there, being a single guy back there, and I thought, I'm out of the restaurants. What the hell am I going to do here? Buy a little coffee shop in the middle of a shopping centre or something, and
can't see you doing that.
Nah. I did think about it for a while. Yeah, I thought about it. I went through the Gloria Jeans thing and the coffee club thing, and I thought this will bore the living daylights out of me, and that's why I came over here, and I lived in a hotel for 2 years when I came over here. The Savoy Lodge up in up in Soi One.
Yeah.
And then when I eventually did do the business down here, I stayed there for a little bit longer, and I thought, I can't just live in a hotel, Greg. I've got to get out and get a condo.
Got to live a normal life eventually.
A little bit of a normal life.
I mean, talk about normal life here. I mean, obviously Sabai down there, Soi 1, 2 and 3. I've got to ask a question. Ever had a soapy?
I did.
Have you?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yep. Well, they were.
Was it up to expectations?
No, it was so mechanical.
Oh yeah.
And it was okay, because up there was Sabai D, Sabai Massage, and the other one on the other
opposite side of the road.
Three corners, all on the. So you'd walk up there, but basically you'd take your mates up there they'd never been to one. So once you'd done it once, I wasn't they're good, they're great. Of course they're good. Of course they're good.
I must admit, my first one was purely out of stupidity. I was in Bangkok, and I came out. I thought, I fancy a massage. And I went to this place. I had no idea. Just said massage. I thought, happy days. And I walked in, and this woman gave me a book. And I'm like, what's this for? She said, and there was all these girls' photos, and I'm like, I just want a massage. She went, any girl. And I'm like, this girl, please. Next thing, she's on the phone. This girl arrives with a basket, towels and everything.
All the goodies.
And I'm thinking, okay, no warning signs. Gets in the room, and she's like, yeah, you shower. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm wait. And I'm like, what's the matter? I come shower you. And I'm thinking, this is a comprehensive massage. Like, I wasn't banking on this. And needless to say, everyone watching and you know yourself, things progressed into a whole different world. And I came out of there, I thought, my Lord, like, if that's a massage, happy days.
Well, then the money changes hands, of course, and it had become a little bit expensive. But then they had the soapies up there purely for Indians as well.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, because honey massage, I think, is more
honey
for
massage.
the-
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I think that one.
Yeah.
Just
So
see the BART buses.
yeah,
going
that's
in.
another aspect of.
Yeah, definitely,
the
definitely.
town.
Well, in part 2, I want to really drill down about Heaven because
Sure, mate. Yep.
fair play to you. You've not only just dived in, but you've made a huge success of Heaven, and of course, you've now taken the brave step to go from Heaven Above as the go-go bar that we all loved and remembered to now Heaven Above as the gentleman's club in Soy Boomerang. So again, another huge business decision, wasn't it? It wasn't just something that you woke up in the morning and thought, you know, let's just change the demographic. Let's be different. So I want to go into part 2.
Yeah, we won't go into that.
Yeah, I want to go into part 2 a lot
expand
more about
on that a bit, but
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's been brilliant. I mean, fair play to you, you know, from a successful business to up in sticks and coming out here. I mean, and no regrets.
Zero. And that's what I'd say to any guy that is thinking about coming over here. Do a little bit of your homework, of course. And the one thing of advice I would advise, it's not, well, I guess it is advice, but if I could recommend to you, listen to some of the guys that do know what happens here.
Yeah.
And because they live here.
Yeah.
Don't think that you meet someone and that saying, as I said, but my girl is different.
She's different, yeah.
It's just, okay,
oh, mate.
okay.
I know. I know
Please
exactly
listen to somebody that has got a little bit of knowledge in a place like this, because, as I said, east is east, west is west, and you know, we're so different to where we came from to what it is here. So, but anyway, we'll.
Brilliant. Well, there you go, mate. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your pearls of wisdom.
Thanks, Trevor.
Check out his U-turn. Do you know what I mean? Who does that? Who possibly does that? Gets on an airplane, lands and says, do you know what, sod it, I'm going to go back. Fair play to you, Greg.
It is what it is.
Oh, mate, that's brilliant. All right, well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Thank
Guys,
you very much.
Please remember, part 2 will be out on Friday, and on Friday I'm going to dig real down and ask some pretty uncomfortable questions about what it's really like, you know, to be surrounded yourself by beautiful girls all day as part of your everyday life. Could you imagine that? But for today, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please, as always, remember to hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we bring out a new video. Guys, check out our members area. There's lots and lots of members on there, and we are talking to lots of different businesses in the city centre that are going to offer you some form of discount when you produce your digital ID card. And guys, if you haven't already, please join our Telegram group. There's lots of like-minded people just like you guys that are on the chat talking about all kinds of unimaginable and unmentionable things. Check it out, guys. The link's in the description below. All right, that's it from us, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And please, as always, wherever you are in the world, stay safe.